You already know the ring, no rules. You already know the code. Ring, no rules. You already know the code. Stepping clean. Leave louder. No ring, no rules. We make our own way. No ring, no rules. Legend starts today. No ring, no rules. Watch us take the crown. No ring, no rules. We don't back down. Lights off, name on, pressure in the room. Cold eyes, sharp grin, big talk, seal doom. We came built for it, heavy in the chest. Every line hits hard, every move say less. Hear that hush now, that's the room goes still. One breath, one spark, then we break the seal. No ring, no rules. We make our own way. Legend starts today. No ring, no rules. Watch us take the crown. No ring, no rules. We don't back down. No script, only nerve and skill. No leash, no chain, only what is real. From the first word out to the final roar. If you want the war, we give you more. No ring, no rules. We make our own way. No ring, no rules. Legend starts today. No ring, no rules. Watch us take the crown. No ring, no rules. We don't back down.
And we do not back down. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Ring, No Rules podcast. We got a lot to talk about during this episode here on episode 6. So, with me on this commentary booth is my always right-hand man partner on this commentary booth, the one and only DJ Chaotic. And I know he's got a lot to talk about too, with, recent things that WWE done. But before we get to WWE, guys, I want to give you guys an update on Jim Ross. As you guys know, Jim Ross, he's got a lot of health issues in the business. And I kind of feel like that this needs to be done on an episode of No Rings, No Rules podcast. Jim Ross, I don't know how, he meant to you guys as a wrestling fan, especially, the commentary team, as you watched him growing up in WWE. But to me, Jim Ross was more than a commentary. He was, more of a hero. So, getting into this No Rings, No Rules podcast, I want to address that the legendary announcer Jim Ross has a bombshell on the wrestling world that during his return of episode of Grilling JR, good old JR, always been the ultimate survivor, but latest health update is one of the scariest he shared. Back in May, just before he was scheduled to travel for the AEW Double or Nothing, the 74-year-old Ross suffered a bad fall at home where he passed out and was discovered and rushed to the hospital in Norman, Oklahoma. 40-day battle. He was supposed to be in the standard checkup, turned into a grueling 40-day hospital stay. JR was finally discharged at the very end of June and pretty much sent home after 40 days. And then, on the podcast, Ross revealed that the fall and subsequent health complications have left him dealing with severe memory lapse caused by fluid buildup on his brain. JR confirmed that he's undergoing brain surgery to implant a shunt in the drained fluids. And this is Jim Ross's own words that I want to address here on the podcast. This is a heavy and hardcore topic that I'm going to say, it's not JR's words, it's us, actually. Let me clarify that. This is a heavy and hardcore topic. JR survived the colon cancer and numerous public health battles, but yet he still gets back behind the microphone. You could talk about sheer greed to it takes a 74-year-old man to face brain surgery and immediately jump back on the podcast to keep fans informed. Also, the JR situation, all of us here on No Rings, No Rules podcast want to send prayers and respect to the absolute blueprint of wrestling commentary, highlight to his mindset, and, especially if it applies to his real life fighting spirit. Much love and respect here on the podcast, Jim Ross. If you're ever listening or if you ever get this link or, whatever the case may be, much love to you, brother. Keep on doing you, keep on fighting, and keep on being the badass commentator that I know from the bottom of my heart you always was. Me growing up as a kid watching you. And I'm going to say this here on No Rings, No Rules podcast. What do you guys think in the chat? And I'm going to turn it over to DJ. And, before we get on to the other stuff that we're going to cover, Chaotic Danger, DJ, what do you think on, the updates of Jim Ross' health and what he's going through in life?
First things first, before I get into that, man, JR, what a legend behind the commentating table. A man with fighting heart and spirit. Definitely one of the icons in my time watching wrestling. Inspirational man of many words. I mean, words can't describe what JR meant to my wrestling history. And huge prayers go out to him and his family in this difficult time right now. So please keep JR in your prayers, and hopefully we see a dramatic comeback to the announce table.
Definitely agree with that. First of all, what do you guys think about the, full story with Jim Ross facing brain surgery? Want to know what you guys think about it in the chat, especially if you guys, are huge fans of Jim Ross. We definitely would love to know your feedback on this, because me, JR was he's a hero. Always will be one of my childhood heroes on commentary booth. Much love and prayers go out to him. That's what I'm going to say about that. But you guys in the comments can fill the comments up on that subject. But moving forward, we're going to move to, what happened on Monday Night Raw and all that. So we're going to talk about the SummerSlam 2026 gridlock, the Punk versus Cody master plan. WWE's creative landscape has completely shifted following a Wild Night of Champions 2026 premium live event. Sami Zayn shocked the world when he won the WWE Undisputed Championship in a brutal triple threat against Cody, Rhodes, and Gunther. But here's where, the backstage criticism comes into play. As we know, if you watch Monday Night Raw, CM Punk has captured the Undisputed Championship, beaten Sami Zayn. Sami's now under the record of 9 days being the WWE champion. To me, I'm going to give you two things, for Punk and Sami, two good things here. I'm going to start with Sami. They could have let him held on to the title that long. Not going to say anything bad, but I think Sami Zayn should have held on to the title a little bit longer than 9 days. But we taking a look at TKO and what they want. It's not about what we wrestling fans want no more. It's pretty much been known they don't really appreciate anything. You go back and look at NWA and look at these local wrestlers. They give the fans what we want. They actually, take pictures with you, autographs, all that. WWE, it's like, if you pay the big bucks, you'll get an autograph with them. But if you don't have the big bucks, then you're shit out of luck. And to me, it's really, in a way, to me, it's really not really right that us lower class people are literally just left out like we're nothing. But going back on this CM Punk and Sammy thing, that I think they could have done a storyline like they did with Chris Benoit, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H at WrestleMania 20, having like a contract where Punk comes out of nowhere, signs his name on an autograph, not an autograph, on a contract, just like Chris Benoit did, or I think it was Shawn Michaels did to Chris Benoit's Royal Rumble contract. They could have done something of that segment to where it becomes a triple threat match. Then they could have had CM Punk won the title off of Sammy and, beat Cody in a triple threat at SummerSlam. That would have been a good way to go. But a Monday Night Raw, especially, I can understand if it's like an Intercontinental title or U.S. title, but the WWE title, that's kind of iffy on, because that's the big title. I think that they should have moved it towards SummerSlam if, their plan was to get rid of Sammy with the WWE title. I could understand if it was a big pay-per-view, such as SummerSlam, one of the biggest of the summer. But at the same time, I disagree with them taking the title away from Sammy and putting it on CM Punk, to let him hold on to it for only 9 days. I can see why Sami Zayn was so frustrated. If you're not seeing the video, I don't know if Chaotic saw the video of Sami Zayn cussing.
I saw it.
The video, but now Chaotic saw it. But Sammy had every right and reason to blow up. After all that work for 10 years, after all that emotions, it felt like it was ripped away from him. And to me, I don't know how you guys feel about it in the chat, but, for me and DJ's going to give you his thoughts on that. But my thoughts is what do you do from here, WWE? Seriously, like, you messed up one of the biggest storylines that you could have had with Sammy, and you gave it to Punk. To me, it's like somewhere along the way you've wanted to do another route. I don't know if it's Paul Levesque, Triple H, or TKO, or somebody in TKO pulling the strings that's making these last minute decisions, but it's going to turn and bite them on the ass. Personally, I think that, I personally think that WWE should have never done business with TKO. I know Vince McMahon was in trouble for allegations and all that, but I think that, if, Vince McMahon didn't want to run the company, I think that, what he should have done is either sold it to Triple H or Stephanie, let them two run it, or showed it to Shane McMahon. If they didn't want to run it, I think that, Raven would have been a good person to run the company. Also, Jake the Snake. I've read an article, or, I think it was a podcast to where I saw this, that Jake the Snake said that these wrestlers that WWE wasn't using and that's on the roster, that are still getting paid, he said he would send them out the door too. And I definitely agree with him, because why are they there? If you're not going to put them on a show or book them, why are they there? Why are they getting paid that money when, you got all of people in the indies that's working their ass off that you can bring up from NXT, move your whole NXT roster up to WWE, and you got fill in slots. But you don't do that. You think, oh, let's, take these people left field, put them in a performance center, and screw these guys that's, been in, the indies and, work their ass off. And to me, here's my biggest thing on that, okay? Don't get me wrong. Here's my biggest intake on that, and I think that this is the biggest downfall that WWE has ever done. When you made the NXT, it should have been not for the celebrities. Don't get me wrong. Celebrities are good for the show. I know I'm going to take a lot of critics and a lot of hits because of this, but I don't think celebrities would be a way to go. If they wanted to do wrestling, let them start from, like we poor people had to, the people that's actually done this and been there and done that sort of scenario, let them start to the indies, work their name up instead of, worrying about the money process. That's how you do that. You make them work up, make them get that name. And, if they earn it, then give it to them. Not because they got the money or they got this power or this cult of you just want, money and power, and you think that's just going to be all grand and dandy. We saw that with, a couple of WWE pay-per-views. I think it was Backlash was one of them that was criticized as well as Not as Champions.
Mm-hmm.
One of the matches was like too short. And I know a lot of fans that literally did not like the context of one of those matches being short. And that's where you're literally getting a lot of people like not wanting to watch television, not wanting to watch Netflix, not wanting to tune in to WWE context or WWE at all. That's the reason why I spend most of my time watching AEW. Because, Tony Khan had, I think that's the owner now. Tony Khan.
It's Tony Khan.
He's got a right mindset when it comes to wrestling. He will take a storyline that WWE does not want to do, and he will put it in AEW, and that's why AEW is getting the boom right now. WWE, if you're going to be a successful company, you need to hire a person that's got the knowledge like Tony Khan, that knows how to, take a GPS and follow it through. Don't hire somebody that, just doesn't give a damn about the fans or doesn't give a damn about, what our intake is and just goes with the money portion. I mean, yeah, you're going to need the money. I understand, the business aspect of it. Yeah, you're going to need the money to pay for these venues, to pay for the, travel, to pay the talent, there's different things that this money needs to go to. I understand, but at the same time, us fans that are lower class are literally having to pay more than what we bargained for. We can't afford, for a WrestleMania ticket, for Jesus Christ, $50,000 just to sit in the ringside seats. I mean, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, that is highway robbery. I mean, if you're going to do WrestleMania, don't do it just because, you want to do it, reach people. Do it income based. Have something to where it's like, how much you make is, take a percentage of that, and that'll be the ticket. Don't do it because it's, you want to just be money hungry and be greedy just because you want the money. That right there is the biggest peeve of why WWE is not doing better in AEW. That's the reason why that you got guys that's been, undisputed champions, and I'm going to say his name here on the podcast, DJ, Chris Jericho, one of the very best in AEW's roster right now. That's probably the reason why Jericho will not come to WWE, because of the way they're doing things. And I'm sorry, but, especially, with Sami Zayn screwing him out of the title, I mean, like, you gave it back to Punk. I mean, don't get me wrong, Punk was a great WWE champion, back in the 2008, 9, 10 era, somewhere around there. But there's newer stars that I think that deserves the WWE title. You know, you have Trick Williams, one of the great United States champions right now that could be your future WWE champion. You got Penta. I think he would be a great WWE champion. You got Damian Priest, you know, former WWE World Champion. I think he would be a great, you know, WWE champion. You got one of these guys that trying to think of his name that is on SmackDown right now.
You talking about Drew McIntyre?
Yeah, Drew McIntyre. Put the belt back on him. I mean, Drew was a good WWE champion. You know, I know he's, you know, had the WWE title, but still, you know, there's different storylines you can work around with. You know, I don't really think that CM Punk deserves another shot at the WWE title. I mean, look what he's done to badmouth the company. I mean, when he was in AEW, he talked shit about WWE. I mean, just being honest. When he was in WWE, he talked shit about AEW. I mean, why would you hire a person that is so hypocritical, that talks shit, that literally is, when he's out of his contract again, he's going to do the same damn thing? I mean, you're not making a valuable, smart, creative decision, and it's coming back and biting you on the ass. A lot of fans are getting pissed because Sammy lost the WWE title because you decided, oh, we want Punk as champion. I get it. You know, it's a business aspect. I get it. You know, you want to do better for the business, but also you got to understand that Sammy worked 10 hard years doing everything he could for the business just to get that one little taste of championship. What did WWE decide to do? Oh, we don't care about Sammy's feelings. Put the title on Punk. Really? After 10 hard years, you take a man that's busted his ass, done some of the most amazing matches that he's ever done in his career, and you throw it all away just because you want Punk back as champion. You know, there's a tweet right now that I could pull up that Tony Khan, you know, literally said, and, you know, I'm going to go back to Tony Khan's thing. He says that if Sammy wants to leave WWE, he'd be glad to take him. And WWE, are you really paying attention of Tony Khan's tweets? Because Tony Khan is literally going to steal your talent if Sammy decides to pull this route. Because if Sammy goes from WWE over to AEW, there's going to be matches that Sammy's going to do that is Jericho. I mean, I don't know if you watched Beach Bash. I think it was Beach Bash.
Beach Break.
Beach Break? Was it Beach Break?
Yep.
Yeah, Beach Break. My bad. It wasn't Beach Bash. It was Beach Break. DJ's right about that. Chris Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa. Two WWE guys. Tommaso Ciampa was released. AEW's got him on his show, and they made a great storytelling match. Great match. I mean, you take a look at that and you compare it to, you know, Sammy versus Punk. Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa killed the damn show, and Sammy and Punk match looked like it was you know, and I'm sorry, I'm going to, you know, pull a Jim Cornette here. It looks like you booked a WWE wrestling show at a goddamn flea market.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's honest right there in the books. But going back to what I was saying, because I got a lot on my mind about this Punk and Sammy thing. TKO's killing it. Like, and I'm not meaning in a good way. They're killing WWE in a bad way. I really think, you know, like I said, bad business decision all by the McMahon selling the company over to TKO. That is something they should have never done. But anyways, going back on the CM Punk and Sammy thing, I don't think it should have been Sammy or Punk versus Rhodes. I think it should have been Sammy versus Rhodes. Or if, you know, you wanted to do this, you know, instead of Punk getting a title shot, you could call back your 17-time world champion just so him and Cody could have one final match. John Cena, make it him an 18-time WWE champion. Or go to Hollywood. There's some stars over there that would probably come back if you actually worked a deal with them. The Animal Batista, I would love to see him back in WWE. Or do something to buy, the contract off of Chris Jericho to get him to come back to WWE to put the WWE title on Chris Jericho. That would be something the fans want to see. There's a lot of fans that would love to see Chris Jericho come back to WWE. I'm one of them, and I'm pretty sure Chaotic's one of them. But y'all guys are making the stupidest decision. And, before I shut this conversation off with the CM Punk and Sammy thing, I'm going to turn it over to DJ Chaotic to let him give you his intake on it. So, DJ, you got the floor.
So here's my thing about this, and this is where I really have a gripe with the whole outlook of this, okay? Number one, anybody remember the Jey Uso scenario when he won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania from Gunther? Yet, what did they do to Jey Uso that happened to Sami Zayn? You took the title off of him too early. You didn't even let Jey build up momentum with the championship. At that same token, let's be real. You give the title to Sami Zayn at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. Yet, you take it off from him in 9 days just because you're in CM Punk's hometown of Chicago? Now, don't get me wrong. If y'all was really going to set up a CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes scenario at SummerSlam, you should have had that set, but not at the expense of Sami Zayn. Only reason why y'all did that, and I blame Ari Emanuel for this, and Mark and whoever else is behind him, I don't even think that was a Triple H move. That was a blatant move to say, oh, we don't have no faith in Sami Zayn. When you could have did this for the actual storyline that I'm about to mention here. You could have had Sami Zayn as champion, let him go on to SummerSlam, let him win, and probably by the time before WrestleMania come back and play, get Kevin Owens involved and let Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have a battle. Let them tear the house down. Two former friends, side by side, for a championship opportunity, for a championship that would have made way more sense story-wise than you did with this whole CM Punk scenario. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have no gripe against CM Punk whatsoever, but at the same time, there's a reason why Sammy didn't feel like he deserved the title. You held the man ever since WrestleMania and the match that he had with Roman Reigns. He hasn't appeared on television not one time. Stayed behind the radar. You came back at the Raw to Mania and said to Cody, you never know when the title opportunity is going to fall down on someone. Huge red flag if you ask me, because who in their right mind is going to give a title opportunity to Sami Zayn if he's not willing to be fit for the champion? Don't get it confused or twisted here. WWE has been on the downhill spiral since they've been under the control of TKO. No ifs, no ands, no buts about it. TKO is single-handedly ruining so many intriguing storylines. It's ridiculous. And the reason why I say that is because how do you fans feel that, oh, we get the shit end of the stick every time for somebody that has no significant value whatsoever or importance to the WWE Championship? You know? And at the same time, you screw Sami Zayn over for the simple fact that you had a main event lined up without Sami even knowing about it. That's the other thing. Sami had every right to spaz the way he did And literally that video, if you haven't seen it, definitely go see it, because intriguing as it is, 9 days, y'all ought to be ashamed of yourselves, WWE. Most champions hold on to that title more than 9 days. If you can get a title to Cody and not take it off from him in 9 days, if you can get a title to Roman Reigns and not take it off from him in 9 days, then who do you have as a confident person y'all feel is going to hold down the title? Because inquiring minds would like to know. And that's where I say this. Wonder why you haven't been getting the viewership. Wondering why you haven't gotten any good praises or whatever the case may be, because you are allowing your show to crumble downhill, pushing the same guys over and over again and not giving young talent the credit that they deserve. Like, you brought Javon Evans up to SmackDown, to Raw. Where is Javon Evans' big break at? Not ever since he left NXT. You still haven't called up Nikita Lyons, but you got her stuck on Evolve as the Evolve Women's Champion and literally on NXT being held hostage behind Natalya, a.k.a. Natty. Now, don't get me wrong. There has to be a fine line as to who you want to be champion. If they haven't proven that they deserve shit, why are you throwing the title on them? Like, dead ass. Why are you throwing the title on them? That's almost like saying you rather parade around having this person champion when there's other people in the company that deserve the opportunity to be champion. Sami Zayn did not just come into WWE to be second fiddle to CM Punk. And I'm being wholeheartedly honest with this, because what y'all did to Sami is how Jey Uso feels. You had the title on him. You had to give it back to Gunther. Sami wins the title in Riyadh. You take the title off from the moment he comes back to the States. Make it make sense. You know, CJ? Like, I feel like, in all due seriousness, Ari Emanuel and the TKO people are killing all of WWE's momentum. You're killing their momentum because, we are the see-all, be-all that's going to make WWE feel successful. Only thing you have been doing is feeding your greedy little pockets with money that you're not entitled to. Why do you think the New Day left? Why do you think certain individuals left? I mean, you're trying to get people to pay. You're trying to get contracts to be done under MMA signing. Like, come on. You can't see that the fan base wants better, but you're giving them the bare minimum. And that's all I got to say to that. Like, get your head out of your ass, TKO. You're fucking up a good thing for the fan base.
Now, going back to a segment here, I know we talked about the CM Punk, the reality check of that scenario. We also talked the Jim Ross portion. Now we're going to flip this over to AEW side with the Chris Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa. And So we're going to talk about the match, the breakdown. I'm going to do the 20-minute segment, the spark, persona versus reality. You have the Tommy trigger, discuss psychological warfare. Chris Jericho starting by using diminutive Tommy, casting with his Ciampa's refusal to belittle in his I'm the Psycho reassertion of dominance. Then the mother jab, analyzing the Tommy's mommy line. Was a stroke genius to get under Ciampa's skin, or was it the momentum Jericho jumped the shark in his current run? What do you think, DJ, out of this thing that Jericho did with the Tommy trigger and the mother jab on this when he called, Tommy's mommy? What do you think what Jericho was trying to do to Ciampa? And do you think that was a smart mind game in what he's doing? Especially, if anybody has watched that match between Chris Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa on AEW's current Beach Break. I think it's what it's called.
Yeah, and I kind of missed the opening. Don't hold me or don't ridicule me, everybody. But at the same time, looking at the highlights, it's kind of like this match was meant to be a huge factor. But at the same time, I'm saying to myself this: Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa really know how to put on a good show. As if from there before they came together in AEW. Don't sit there after the storyline that they had throughout the week. Yeah, I can say it was a legendary fight, but at the same time, taking the words out of JR's mouth, it was a slobber knocker.
So going back on the Tommaso Ciampa intake on this, I'm going to go to there is the clash in style of egos. You got the veteran craftsman debated how Jericho's veteran experience and willingness to garner bumps held up against Ciampa's aggression, which is modern style. The carrying argument touched on the fans' discourse regarding where Ciampa had to carry the match to make it work, or was it a perfect example of two guys knowing exactly how to dance together? And what I mean by dancing together, they know how to be good workers of the business. So if you take a guy that's, new to the business and put him, with a guy that's a veteran of the business, that veteran will make that guy that don't know nothing about wrestling look good because he knows how to work a match. That's what I'm trying to say about that. The weaponry discussed the sand finish and drill pop. Was it badass and unique, or did it feel like too dumb finish for a feud that it had such heavy, serious buildup? I'm going to answer this, and DJ's got his own opinion about it. But, watching that match between Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa, I'll have to say that probably had to be match of the night because they put each other. It was better than watching WWE's crap. they put each other through pure hell. Like you seen Jericho, um, like hitting him, like just basically like both of their bodies was bloody and bruised. I mean, it was like a bruiserweight type matchup, and seeing Chris Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa go at it like that, and the storytelling behind it made it absolutely worth watching. You could tell if especially Jericho, you could tell a veteran from the business, between them two, because they know their spots in the match, and that's what made that match. I think like I said, pretty much the best match in AEW. Don't get me wrong. But switching over to DJ, he's going to give you his thoughts on that. But that's what I have to say about that. The clash of styles and egos. But DJ, you got the floor if you want to add in on that intake.
Like, I don't have to add nothing much to it. I mean, it was definitely a barn burner in itself. Definitely one of those intriguing matches that holds volume and weight. And I say that because the spots that was in that match was so standout-ish that you wouldn't see those type of spots in any other match, let alone if it's WWE or whatever.
So
it was a masterpiece match.
Here's a question I want to ask you, DJ. Since we're on the No Rings, No Rules podcast, out of the match between Chris Jericho versus Tommaso Ciampa versus the CM Punk and Sammy match, which one was the better match, out of WWE and AEW, that if you decided to have like the WCW, WWE Monday Night Wars with them two matches, which one in your book is going to get the fans talked about and watching the product more? Was it AEW between their booking with Chris Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa, or was it the CM Punk and Sammy match?
Now, here's my thing. Don't take me wrong. Don't fire any stones at me for this, but this is just my take. Looking at both matches and comparing everything as a whole, Jericho and Ciampa had a 5-star classic match. Sammy just was in the right place at the right time scenario. Like, you see where it's going. But at the same time, we're not going to sit up here and devalue anything as a whole. Sammy did his thing to scrape by to get the championship, if you will. You can't say the same thing for a match that didn't need no title opportunity necessary, but they tore the house down. But that's all I got to say for that one.
Now, going back to this thing that I want to do, I'm going to let you guys in the chat vote. Out of all the things that we, talked about, the CM Punk Sammy match versus the Chris Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa, so I'm going to put this right here because this needs to be So, anyways, who do you guys think won the war ratings? Was it Chris Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa's match at Beach Break? Or was it CM Punk and Sammy's match they had on Raw? You guys get to vote on that. And while I'm making this official, if you guys actually follow me on or subscribe to me on YouTube under my post, I'm going to put it under my post. You guys get to vote on which match was better. So you guys get to vote on this poll. It's already up. Which match was better? Chris Jericho versus Tommaso Ciampa or CM Punk versus Sami Zayn? It is now up as we speak. You guys get to vote on that. And the next time I do a No Rings, No Rules podcast, I will reveal the winner of that poll. So you guys have until episode, I think, 7, because I think we're on 6 now. So episode 7, I will tell the winner of that. So before we close, I will say this here on the thing that this is pretty much a speech that I wrote about this match between Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa. You know, they call it sports entertainment, but tonight we talk about the reality of violence. You saw in the eyes of the Psycho Killer, which you saw the desperation of the Demo God. When you mix a legend, a drill, a handful of sand, you don't get a wrestling match. You get a blood-soaked lesson in how to survive. Whether you love him or hate him, Jericho pushed a man to his limit. But Tommaso Ciampa reminded all of us that some people just don't wrestle, they break you. This is No Rings, No Rules podcast, and we do not hold back the truth. And that is No Rings, No Rules style. Thank you guys for tuning in for this podcast. We will see you guys on episode 7, and we will let you know the winners of that poll. Continue voting on the post on YouTube. Much love and respect goes out to anybody that's listening, that's liked, subscribe, and comment, or even supported the channel. And we will see you guys on the next episode of No Rings, No Rules podcast.
No ring, no rules. You already know the code. Stepping clean. Leave louder. No ring, no rules. We make our own way. No ring, no rules. Legend starts today. No ring, no rules. Watch us take the crown.